Studios, my friend and associate, Michael Beltran, has made his appearance. He's here. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
So this is my thought. I actually don't do these little formatics to try and drive people to free play. Like, I hope they go. All free plays are open right now. 30 pinball machines at Free Play Arlington. In my opinion, the best lineup, the best experience, right there at Free Play Fort Worth. I stinking love that place. And, of course, the mothership, my homeland, Free Play Richardson, where I will be tonight. Any one of those three locations, you are in good shape. You're helping us. You're supporting us. If you don't feel like going out, freeplayinc.com/savethearcade. That's where you can get merchandise, join the Patreon, gift cards, other things, all kinds of stuff. But as I was saying, this is kind of promoting it is kind of like, it's not secondary. I just want to like give time for Tiger Lily to host the stream. That's really what I'm thinking. I always think like, who comes on the moment you hit the button? You know what I'm saying, Mike?
That's the goal for 2021.
Tiger.
Somebody's got to take this over.
Oh, that Tiger Lily takes it over? No. Well, Tiger Lily
Yeah.
auto hosts the stream. Thank you for the host, Tiger Lily. So she's there. She's with us strong, ×4. But yeah, just I wanna babble a little bit just so I give everybody a chance to come into the room. As far as events happening, I just mentioned it on Facebook, but I'll mention it here as well. Tomorrow, we have the Denton-themed Halloween party at Free Play Richardson. So Denton no longer a thing for us, so we're bringing all the old staff that we can, all the old players that we can, all the signage, all the decorations. We're turning Free Play Richardson into Denton for the night, and it's a Halloween-themed party. I'll be in costume. Tiger Lily's dressing up as Jason from the NES. It's going to be greatness. I can't wait to see it all, and we can't wait to have you out, show you the place. Let's see if I can access the chat real quick. I'll send you a link to the event. Also, Sunday, I don't want to forget that Sunday we have the Third Strike Monthly at Free Play Arlington. Please come out there and that's where we are right now. What the heck is that all about? Here's the link to the event. Thank you, Mental Lizard, for the sub. So there's your link to the event page for the Denton Halloween party, the Denton-themed Halloween party. So Sunday, Third Strike, start at 7 o'clock because we didn't have a massive amount of players last month for the Third Strike Monthly, but I'm doing it again. 2 Third Strikes. It will run quickly. That's why I'm able to run it so late. Thank you for the sub, Boat Guy. But we'll be out there, and please come out there and beat my ass because I will do my best, but there is no reason for me to win this thing. Come beat my ass at Third Strike this Sunday at Free Play Arlington. I hope you do. I hope you do very much. All right. Got Fred Boat going. Got this button right here. Got about all the steam I could give. So now I need my associate. Joining us now, live from the haunted catacombs underneath Mount Beltran, fresh from his laboratory as he tries to create us a new XFL football team, the terror of Twilight Lounge, the panic of gals, the overlord of Oak Cliff. It's Michael Beltran. How are you today, Mike?
I'm doing swimmingly today.
Swimming some more, huh? Do you
Oh,
swim?
yeah.
Are you a swimmer, Mike?
I can swim.
You can swim?
I do know how to swim, yes.
Been known to be out on the river or a lake a time or two, perhaps DJing on a party boat?
Well, as a matter of fact, this summer it wasn't quite a boat, but I was swimming in the Guadalupe River. If you recall that story where I ate it pretty good, going over, a small section of
Yeah, we almost lost the terror of Twilight Lounge.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, no, that was definitely fun and interesting swimming in the Guadalupe River earlier this summer. It was fun.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I still have the intro for that one too. Hey, I
Oh
can
man.
introduce you from that one. Joining us
No,
now, live, fresh from the healing waters of the River Beltran, golden brown, possibly still hungover, and ready for the news. Here's Michael Beltran.
Guadalupe River, but alas, Chris, we've only got just a couple of minutes here before we get on to Nerd Side of the Ring. So
Well, then I will
Let-
only waste all of your time.
yes, that's fine, because here is a reboot. Now everything's getting rebooted these days, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one that I am not sure if I'm really ready for, but it has my
Pac-Man,
attention.
the animated series.
Oh man, now we're talking.
Actually, that has been
But-
rebooted already.
Yeah, but yeah, it has actually. I do recall it coming back out. But man, it looks like my beloved Smokey and the Bandit is making a comeback.
Oh, you should be cast. I need Mike
Yeah.
Beltran as Smokey throwing M-bombs at the bandit. That's
Oh man, I don't. Oh man,
is it going to be like Psycho where they go do a word for word remake?
Nice. Well, I don't know about that, but if there's anything, I should be the bandit because I've said on here before that Burt Reynolds, that I wanted to be him so bad
Mhm.
as a young lad. Like he was like one of my first heroes and idols. That guy right there. I mean, you couldn't have gotten any more cooler than him. Driving around that kick-ass Trans Am, wearing the hat, with just a cool smile and the pretty girl. Man, that dude there. Woo! But it looks like it's getting a TV treatment. So
TV?
Halloween direct.
What's that?
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? It's getting a TV treatment. Halloween director David Gordon Green is partnering
No,
with
Tiger
Brian
Lily said
Side.
Halloween was directed by John Carpenter.
Well, it says here another Halloween director.
How many Halloweens
They-
are there?
There's just too many.
More reboot
Too many.
news.
Yes, but with Brian Sides and Family Guy Seth MacFarlane to develop an ongoing series based on the original Burt Reynolds project.
This isn't even the first Smokey and the Bandit series, Mike.
Well, let's see here. And man, here's what I never really understood as a kid.
What's that?
Okay. Well, the movie, of course, if you're not quite familiar with it, they essentially had a bet to get Coors Light
Mhm.
beer
Mhm.
to Texas.
No,
Okay.
from Texas. From Texas.
From Texas, yeah, from Texas to Georgia.
Mhm.
Okay. Apparently, there was a law, and it wasn't like prohibition law or anything like that, but there was some type of law where they couldn't sell Coors beer, not Coors Light, the original Coors, the banquet beer, east of the Mississippi. I don't know the exact details of it, but I mean that's essentially what this movie was based off of because that was a real thing. And
Would you like me to
Wow.
call up Chad real quick and have him explain to you why the laws are even weirder now?
well, I mean that's I don't know if we have 7 minutes. I don't know if we have all that time in the world to do. But yes, that was what this movie was about. And I was like, man,
You can't. You have to be a distributor. It's part of the TABC's 3 tiers of
Well,
alcohol
yeah.
sales.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I get all that, but there was something else with it though. It wasn't so much distribute. There was some type of weird Mississippi
Texas.
thing with it back then. So it was definitely weird back then with that. But yeah,
Mhm.
Smoking the Bandit is coming back, and I'm pretty stoked. Now I don't know. It doesn't say here who will play who yet,
I don't.
but
Other than Burt Reynolds, is any of the cast alive? Is Burt Reynolds still alive?
no, Burt Reynolds is no longer with us, and
Good
I was
Lord. So none of the cast is still alive.
yeah.
Sally
Sally Field's
Gidget.
still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally Field. She's still around.
Okay.
She was in a show not too long ago as well. There's some show on TNT. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a odd show actually. But yeah, she's still around. But yeah, um, it pretty much almost everyone. Oh well, the son of Buford T. Justice, he's still alive too, I do believe. I forgot his name right now, but yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested, and I'm ready for that. So let's see here.
Have you seen Smokey and the Bandit recently?
Yeah, I have.
Did we watch it together?
We have not,
Oh,
but I
okay.
do have it on. I do have it on a DVD.
Okay, that movie is very not PC. Let me tell you this. Still holds up. Still holds up.
Damn right it. Damn right it holds up.
Yeah, I watched it with Sarah at
Huh?
Alamo, the dearly departed Alamo Richardson,
Huh?
and we had a good old time. I mean, again, very not PC, but that's kind of like what the sheriff is doing.
I
And
mean,
it's not like he wins in the end. So it's man, it's a wild ride. Definitely makes you want to take a Trans Am and jump it off of something.
of course, of course. I mean, just like Johnny said in Cobra Kai, just stop being a P. Basically, it. Stop being a P. He's right. Johnny's right. Stop being a P.
No, Buford T. Justice's words don't begin with P. The kinder ones do.
Well, it was just one line.
The
That's all it
kinder,
was.
gentler one.
It was just one line that
Mhm.
he said a unfortunate word, but again, that was certain words were said even on television back then. So it's all right.
Hmm.
It was all right for
He,
then.
he does the same jokes as Chris Rock.
No, I wouldn't say that. But here's something that has people pretty excited. Uh, Jared Leto's Joker joins Zack Snyder's Justice League reshoots.
Okay. Who's excited about this again?
I mean, people.
Hmm. I can see Boat
People.
Guy is very excited. Nigel's
People.
Neverland also. There's quite excites.
Yeah, people. They're excited.
Hmm. Hmm.
People are excited now.
Oh, Ian with chiming in. He's excited. I guess you're right.
Yay.
You're totally right. Everybody's clamoring for Jared Leto as Joker.
Yeah, people. So I don't know, man. I mean, this
What?
almost seems like it's going to be a totally different movie than what Justice League originally was.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. Although if you're including Jared Leto in it, then I'm not sure. What about
Yeah.
Okay, how about this, Mike?
hmm
Who's the worst Joker you've ever seen?
The worst Joker. Oh man.
Many fights over who the best one is. Who's the worst?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a fan of this one, the Jared one. Wasn't
Neither was
big fan
anyone
of
else. There you go.
that.
The worst
So-
Joker in the history of the character coming
Uh-huh.
back for you, for your pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
A Joker that's already been rebooted
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Hey,
2 years later.
See, that's kind of the issue with, to me, that's kind of the issue with, you have all these, reboots of, the Batmans and the Supermans and it's always somebody different, so it kind of murkies the water, if you will, as to like, okay, who's the definitive person in said role? You know what I mean?
All right. Well, that's a fine question. Who is the definitive person as Batman, Mike B?
Oh man, I mean,
Kevin Conroy.
ooh, very nice,
Not
very
wrong.
nice.
Not wrong.
I mean, as far as the movies go, I mean, I gotta go
You
with
haven't
my
seen
guy.
Mask of the Phantasm?
I know I haven't,
Hmm.
but I mean, as far as the ones that I've seen, I mean, I gotta go with my guy Michael Keaton.
Keaton.
He even said it recently in a video he made. He even said in the video that he made of talking about, I guess, if you will, who he's voting for in this upcoming election. He even said, and I quote, "I am Batman, damn it," or something like that. So, anyways, that'll be mine right there. That'll be my Michael Keaton. So, Um, let me get to.
Keaton agrees with you.
There you go. Speaking of movies, though, Chris, we're still on the movie train here, but we have a new release date for another movie I am waiting on. Not Top Gun 2, which I'm waiting for that. Not Coming to America 2, which that's coming soon to Amazon Prime.
Is it tomorrow's release?
No.
Is it Black Widow?
No. It is Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was pushed back to March 5th, 2021. But now Sony has decided to push the film a little further down the line. It is now coming out June 11th, 2021.
I'm glad they're at least still releasing things on the streaming services. 'Cause
Yes.
while we've lost every movie that's not Bill and Ted and Tenet, we are at least seeing like new offerings on the streaming services fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Not just Tiger King that you keep watching over and over again, Mike.
No. I haven't seen it since it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now here's something. I'm gonna need some help on this one, Chris.
Okay.
Before I get to, I got a couple more here before we get to birthdays, because we got some good birthdays today.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Quibi?
No.
I have heard of it.
Is that related to a Furby?
You're close, because apparently this was a streaming service that was around for about 6 months, and now it's already shutting down.
Oh no! I barely knew ye.
Exactly, yeah. I have heard of it. I remember one of my buddies telling me, "Hey, have you heard of Quibi?" I'm like, "What in the world is that?" And it was basically oh gosh, it was designed to offer users quick bites of entertainment.
So it was YouTube?
Well, you could watch, let's say, a certain TV episode in about 10 minutes instead of like 20 or 30. So
why
it was
do you want to be mic'd up? Here.
It was basically like your what is it? What do you call those things? Like QuickBooks or something, or just a summary.
TV shows?
Yeah, it was a summary of whatever show or possibly even movie. Like a quick summary, if you will, of whatever show or movie you were wanting to watch, and it was on Quibi. Okay. So they launched earlier this year. I don't even know when it launched, but I just remember hearing about it. Apparently, they launched earlier this year. And they raised tons of money with investors and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, it is already shutting down. So yes, you are right. I barely.
Did someone buy a supercar with those funds?
Maybe
to get torn in half on an LA freeway.
There you go.
By a friend. If we go back to that story.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. And let's see. I got one bit of
Ian, I'm with
here.
you. It just sounds like a TV show to me.
Yeah. Let's see. I've got one bit of news here. As we transition into wrestling, I'll get to that here in just a minute. But let's go over some birthdays here.
Okay.
We got some good bangers today, Chris, for birthdays.
All right, what we got?
Because we have the birthday of 1.21 gigawatts. Christopher Lloyd turns 82.
You pronounce that weird.
He
Of
is
all the
turning
words
82.
I would think he would get right wrong, it'd be gigawatts.
Mm-hmm. Of course, he's won multiple Emmys from his work on Taxi, which I forgot for the longest time he was in Taxi. I was like, oh yeah, he was in that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Not that I watched a lot of Taxi in my day.
Yeah,
I only
didn't
turned
either,
it
but-
on enough to know that Doc Brown was on it, and then got disappointed when he didn't travel in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, hey, what's this yellow car?
One of the
what's going on
twins
here?
from Twins was on there too.
Yes, Danny DeVito.
Mhm.
That was the all-star cast back then.
It really was.
Also, I mean, a guy that's a hero to many, Jeff Goldblum. He is 68.
Wow. Man,
Mhm.
if we're doing Mike B News on October 22nd, 2021, what kind of party are we going to have for Jeff Goldblum's 69th birthday?
Oh my God.
We need a full 2-hour special just
Yeah.
with Jeff Goldblum.
No, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Tune in.
Um,
Mark your calendars. 10/22/21.
he is my lawyer, but Bob Odenkirk is 58. That is Saul. Better call Saul.
Mm-hmm. Not
Let's
Mr.
see here.
GQ. Not the Texas Law Hawk.
No. This guy, Saul. He's my lawyer right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, Chris, it wasn't me, but Shaggy turns 52.
Good
Yeah,
one.
it was. That's right. Let's see. Also, we have the birthday of. Let me scroll a bit more here. Oh yeah, here we go. Hang on, let me pull up this real quick because oh man, let me scroll up a little bit more. Stand by.
You're listening to live
There.
coverage of Mike
There
B
it is.
checking his phone.
Mike be scrolling.
Yeah, well, Chris, you know him as Radimus. I know him as Pachanga, but actor Luis Guzman is 64.
I know him as Luis Guzman.
Wow.
That's all
I
I
should
feel like
know
he's
him.
looked 64 forever.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. But yes, because sometimes you gotta spread it flat like paper. That is from Waiting. Oh, I love that movie.
Mhm.
Let's see here. We also have singer-songwriter John Wesley Harding of Wesley States is 55.
Noun. Shout outs to Noun.
Let's see here.
Happy
What
birthday,
else we
Mike.
got here? Oh, what we got?
Only one real major community group birthday today. It is old Free Play Denton Tech Marcos's birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yes, he is. He's turning the ripe old age of 23.
Yeah, there you
Ancient.
go. That's right. Let's see. Oh, is Tiger Lily here?
Yes, welcome to another edition of Tiger Lily on the Road.
Oh my God. Well, Tiger Lily, Zach Hansen of Hansen is 35.
Oh, oof. Yes.
There you go.
I got an anniversary. It's
Oh.
especially for Chris, because we know how much Chris loves baseball.
Absolutely.
Right, Chris? That's
Oh,
your
yeah.
favorite sport.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
So, it
There
is
is
the
not a
10-year
better sport I would rather do work to than baseball.
Nice.
It is the 10-year anniversary of when the Rangers first went to the World Series.
Oh yeah, Mike actually showed me how that ended. Like
Oh,
what, 6 months ago, 3 months ago? I don't even remember. It was in Denton.
man, just
Post
Yeah.
pandemic. It was in the pandemic, so
uh-huh.
maybe like 4 or 5 months ago.
Mhm.
Well, also, we would have had the birthday of Curly Howard, Three Stooges. It would have been his birthday today. Also, Hugh Jackson, former Browns coach, 55. And speaking of
55.
baseball, Ichiro Suzuki,
Hey.
47.
Damn. And I think he's still playing.
I'm not sure about. He might be playing in Japan, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, in Japan.
Last I heard, he was with the Yankees last time. But I haven't kept
That was
up
like
with
5 years ago.
Yeah.
that.
So,
I have a birthday, Mike.
oh, what do you got?
Happy 48th birthday to one head-shaking, vest-wearing former WWF European champion, D'Lo Brown.
Nice. Very good. Very good. Let's see.
Chris, if you don't know who D'Lo Brown
I do
is,
know
that
who
is
D'Lo Brown
someone
is.
who was criminally underrated during the Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
Yeah,
don't know
he
how his
does.
neck moves like that after all these years.
Yes. And I do have okay, I do have a anniversary for you, Tiger Lily.
Uh-huh.
But on this date in 1982, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch
Yes.
was released.
Look,
Such
I
a
will
dumb
go on
Halloween
I
movie.
will go on an hour, 2 hour, maybe 5
Oh my
rant
god. Oh my
about
god.
why that movie is so underrated. And if people
God.
knew the reason, I know all these I know the facts behind this whole series. Trust me.
Is that,
It's an amazing movie.
God.
It is underappreciated.
Is
that
that
the-
movie considered canon?
No, okay. Do you want me to explain why it's
We
in
got 5
the
minutes.
series?
Go.
All right, all right. So originally, what was planned with John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, after the end of the second movie, they wanted to branch off into a series of anthology movies where something weird or creepy would happen on Halloween. That's basically what they wanted to do. So that's how Halloween 3 came to be. And it has some cameos in it. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it, only her voice is in it. They have them watching the first Halloween movie in there too. Dick Warlock plays a robot, and he played
That's a real person.
Michael Myers in the second. He played Michael Myers in the second movie. But yeah, so they were trying to with that idea. Obviously, it failed, and then we got many crappy Halloween movies after that, which I still adore. But it's got a lot. It's got a big cult following many years after, and it's an amazing movie by itself. If you take the Michael Myers context out, it's an amazing movie. I will say that. It's great.
Wow. Well, there you have it, Chris. I mean,
If you want the longer version, check out my podcast.
oh wow! Look out! Look out, man!
now we're talking. Boy,
Wow.
Tiger Lily's rounding into
almost
shape
like-
here.
Yeah, no.
Maybe you were right after all.
Yeah, I think she saw that pitch down the middle and hit it out of the park, man. She was ready for that one. Oh man!
All right,
Now,
the
Chris,
call-
I've got
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've got a little video here as we now transition into wrestling, but
No. We've had the call. The call has been made. They need the Gory Midori, aka
Oh my
Dr.
God.
Angela Beard. Word of the day. It's been called for in the audience. You can't let your audience down, Mike B.
you
Sent it
hear
to
that
you.
noise?
It's gotta-
That was
It's gotta be
momentum
a quick
leaving.
one. It's got to be a quick one.
Okay,
Oh,
So I
this
gave
one
you a
seems
small-
easy,
I
Mike.
gave you a small one.
okay. This is a noun.
Mm-hmm.
Scintilla.
Scintilla.
Close.
Scintilla. The double L's. Let's see
Scintilla.
here.
Scintilla.
Yeah, this is a spark or trace.
See? Can you use it in a sentence?
See here. Does not say one here.
It does. I see it. How about a phrase?
Scintilla.
Not a scintilla of doubt.
There you go. A very small word for you, so you can get out of here and get to Nerd Side of the Ring. But thank you to Dr. Angela Beard for providing the Gory Midori word of the day, expanding our vocabulary. And of course, we wouldn't be able to pronounce it correctly without the expert help of Michael Beltran.
Scintilla.
Now, I'm about to send a link here to the chat. You wanna? Now you can just pull this up and just kind of forward it or whatever. But it's basically, I recently picked this up. We talked about it on the news, but I did pick up the Mario Kart Live,
Okay, that one.
and yeah, where you have a little RC Mario Kart that you can drive around your house.
Did
Oh,
you get
that's
Did you
cute.
get the Mike B race car?
Doesn't come with a Mike B race car,
The,
but
li- the little Honda.
nice. Now that would be cool. But what this video is Xavier Woods, Austin Creed, is playing Mario Kart Live in the WWE Thunderdome. First, he's playing it around the ring, and then he puts the set inside the ring. And this is a little 5-minute clip. We don't have to watch the whole thing, of course, but if you just want to show some of it, of him playing Mario Kart in the WWE Thunderdome, it's pretty cool.
Mike, can you explain this to me? Is this sort of like a Pokemon Go kind of Mario Kart racing?
Yeah, look, check it out. It comes with an actual little car, and it has like a little set that,
Right.
The car has a camera on it, and there's sensors and stuff, and it reads the little set as you drive through it, and
I see.
it's just like real life Mario Kart, basically. So yeah, they're just pretty good. Him and Tozawa playing it. Ruby Riot plays it, and then it looks pretty cool. Look at that. That's fun.
It looks cool. Seems to
can't-
be quite a bit of lag if he's crashing that much.
Well, I don't know about lag or whatever, but look at that. It's pretty cool. Look at that. You could drive a little cart around. Yeah. I don't know if it's lag. I mean, you got to get used to the controls and all that stuff, right? So
Sure, let's pretend.
some of these people aren't really gamers. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But Xavier Woods is. So
Mhm.
there you go. But yeah, look at that, huh? Pretty fun. I definitely can't wait to open it up myself and drive it around here. It's just too bad I don't have Uno inside the house. Otherwise, I would chase Uno with my little car around the house. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a better video. We got a song that goes with that and everything. Let's
Yeah,
bring that one
exactly.
down here. And there we go. Why isn't the song playing? Hold on. I'll
It's fine. We got a show to start. Let's go.
what? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Uno.
But there you go. Now, Damien, let's get
Yes,
this
sir.
going here.
Save
Well,
us.
welcome everybody to Nerd Side of the Ring. It is your boy Damien G, a co-host of the Big Gold Bell podcast, as well as contributor to this particular show. I want to thank everybody who continues to support, listen, and come out to Wrestling Wednesday because it's a lot of fun, especially toward the end of the night where people have to cut ridiculous promos. There have now been props being used to cut set promos, glasses, hats, masks, one big old wrestle fest. And to be quite honest, I didn't anticipate this kind of shenanigans, but I am nonetheless grateful
I
to
need
see
more
everybody
creamers.
coming out.
More creamers. That's all I'm saying.
What?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Creamer. You showed me the promo, Mike.
Oh, cream. Okay. Creamers. Go
Keep
ahead.
referring to the cream and the coffee promo from Macho Man.
Cream of the crop. Yeah, Boat Guy knows what I'm talking about.
That's what I figured. Okay. But I want to get Chris's perspective. I know lately he hasn't been able to watch any of the wrestling because he's been hosting and kind of carrying 2,000 things on his back while he's at Free Play. But did you manage to catch anything last night, Chris?
Yes, I did. A couple things. I caught. Let's see. I caught the first match because there was it was all at AEW that I caught. I caught the first match of the night, which was part of the, I believe, 8-man tournament to determine number one
Yes.
contender. Is that right?
That is correct.
So I watched the first one, which was, I guess I watched the Kenny Omega squash match as well, which was the second one. So yeah, I guess I did see some. Although that was
Yeah,
about
you saw
7
Wardlow
seconds.
versus Jungle Boy.
There you go. Yes. So I saw that.
I like Jungle Boy.
What's that? I also like Jungle Boy. I enjoy his physicality in the ring. He seems to throw himself into and at and off of everything. He didn't win the match, surprise, surprise, against a guy who was 80 pounds heavier than him. But yeah, I do like Jungle Boy. My observation was like he did all the things that make me like him in the ring, which was fly around and do all the crazy stuff and take the crazy bumps, or maybe not crazy bumps, but he takes bumps that look cool as he's just twirling around. I don't know what is and isn't real amongst things, but I will say I don't think he has the respect of a wrestler from JR yet. It's the only time I've seen JR actually break character and call a person by their real name if it wasn't a part of their character.
Oh, when you refer to him as Jake Perry?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JR is weird because on commentary last night, he even references that Wardlow would have fit in every place he's ever worked in prior to joining AEW. So Jim Ross making kind of a veiled shot at WWE/F as well as WCW was kind of underground shade. But at the same time, to your point, Chris, not surprised that Wardlow advanced. I mean, come on, if you just look at the brackets, you can kind of tell who was going to advance in the first 2 matches we saw.
Right, not the tag team wrestlers.
No.
Yeah, Kenny Omega advances in like 2 seconds. I was confused. Like, I know what a squash match is. I just like, well, I've seen his finisher because I haven't seen that version of Kenny Omega yet. I haven't seen much of him, to be honest with you, outside of playing video games,
Right.
which is odd.
This Kenny Omega is the New Japan version of Kenny Omega, where he shows up, has these, to quote Mike, a banger match and just leaves, or he's just so cocky and confident that he doesn't deserve to be in a tournament like this, and that the way I looked at it last night was the beginnings of a troll heel character of, I know I'm good, but I'm going to cheer on my opponent who I just squashed in a really douchey way, judging by that meh face he had after winning in 7 seconds. So I think WWE tried this with TJ Perkins a while ago to make him a trolling gamer character. No success, obviously, but I'm really curious to see. I mean, the man had a cheering section with brooms. He had 2 cheerleaders with brooms when he came out. So that caught my attention.
I did see that from that's probably why I saw the 7-second matches. I saw you guys reacting to the intro. One more thing I caught, which you probably would have mentioned anyway, but it definitely caught my attention. A 15-minute like Broadway musical segment
Oh,
in the middle of AEW between who was it, Chris Jericho and
MJF.
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 Oh man.
Okay. So if I would have saw that at, I don't know, 15 or 16 while I was trying to watch wrestling, I would have been furious. Like, where's the wrestling? 2020, I can barely pay attention because I'm doing so many things. Let me tell you this. It got my attention. That's for sure.
That's what it's supposed to do.
If this is Jerry Jones, it's mission accomplished, where any press is good press. So, yeah, it caught my attention. It's just an entire musical number. I did laugh. I can't say I thought it was wrestling or wrestling related, but, got my attention. So I can't thumbs down it because mission accomplished, right?
This is kind of the, if you will, the at least AEW style, or not, you could say the style of like Young Bucks and kind of overall the whole. Well, I won't say the whole, but parts of independent wrestling, essentially outside of WWE, but because it is wrestling, right?
Musicals?
The idea is to really don't take yourself too serious because it's wrestling and everyone knows it.
Yes.
Everyone knows it's it's not a real shoot fight, right? Everybody knows this by now. So all right, let's just embrace it for what we are. We are entertainment, right? And let's just have some fun with it, right? And
As
that's
the proprietor of Wrestling Wednesday, I understand. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So that's kind of what you have with AEW, and that's kind of the charm of why you have a lot of fans of wrestling outside of WWE that like this type of wrestling, right? Or how it's presented in a jokingly manner, because again, it's supposed to be silly, right? Now, you got old school people like Jim Cornette who hates AEW. He can't stand it because, kind of like what you said, what you briefly touched on, Chris. You said, if this was 15 years ago, you would have hated it, right? Well, Jim Cornette hates it now. He hates everything about it. He hates everything, right? But he especially hates this, and and he, it's all. Like for example, there's so many examples here, but Young Bucks, they have like a book or something coming out, and it's called Killing the Business, right? They even say it in their theme song, "Killing the Business." Well, Jim Cornette years ago said the Young Bucks are killing the business. You know what I mean? So it's all, it all comes back together, and essentially what they mean by that, or what he means by that, is like all this silliness is taking what wrestling used to be about from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where it's supposed to be like perceived as a
Endless
serious.
headlock that is still going on now.
Well, I don't know about headlock, but it's supposed to be treated like with still some form of respectfulness, if you will, to the idea of two people wrestling each other.
So
Okay.
I do have thoughts on that. Like I know where you're going, because I did watch wrestling back in the 80s, and I watched it again in my kind of late teens, early 20s, briefly. End of Attitude Era is when I watched it. And so, yes, endless headlocks back then. As far as killing it goes, killing the seriousness, taking it serious like it is a real fight, all the stakes on it and whatnot, and your emotions on every endless headlock. The UFC killed it. Like, it is dead, because I seen what an actual armbar looks like. Now I know what it looks like. Now I know how fast an actual armbar actually works. Like, the UFC has taught me, and mixed martial arts in general has taught me so much about like what these wrestling moves actually do. And by the way, that wrestling as a sport is a legitimate fighting style, but it's bang bang, and I can't unsee it. So going back to watch my 80s videos, if they're not doing the Iron Claw, I don't want to see it, because it's slow, it's methodical, and it's just weird. It's not a fight. It's still hilarious fantasy, I guess. It's just very, very slow paced.
Okay. I mean, you definitely, hit on some good points there. Yeah, obviously the pace and style of wrestling has evolved to what you see today, with a lot of flips and things like that today.
Right.
That, the guy, guys like Dory Funk could, didn't really come off the top rope back then, but he was one of the greatest world champions of all time.
Can you imagine Dory
Exactly.
Funk doing a plancha?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't see that today, whereas like 90% of the guys today all do a plancha. You know what I mean? So, I think for today's audience right now, in order for it to be sustainable, I think for today's audience, right, you do have to have like the silliness in it, just to kind of keep it fresh and interesting, and and you're next thing you know, you're laughing, right? Like, look at that, like, I can't believe this. This is actually happening.
It needs to be
They're
over
singing.
the top, is what it needs.
Yeah.
It needs to be over the top, not under the top, because it isn't serious. Like I said, if I'm watching the 80s stuff, I can't watch it because it's still not serious, but it's also not over the
Right.
top.
Yeah. And the thing is with this is you had the right two people pull this off.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because, Chris Jericho in the past maybe 5 years or so has, before he became, Mr. AEW, right?
Mhm.
His last WWE run was probably some of the best stuff he's ever done, because he had the list, he had the friendship with Kevin Owens,
Mhm.
where like he's done similar skits like this in WWE that was just like phenomenal. Like, it was great. It was so good. It was so entertaining, and that was the whole point of it. And now you have him just again raising the stakes with doing a musical. You know what I mean? And with MJF, who is right now essentially one of the top heels in wrestling, and who is also very popular and liked because he is such an a-hole. For him to all of a sudden just be singing, it's like, what is happening here? And yet it's not going to hurt his character at all, because he's still an a-hole, and he'll tell you. that he's better than you to your face. You know what I mean? There's no problem with that, but because again, you got two top heels in the company trying to work together, you have a musical and you're like, okay, this is crazy. And of course the follow-up is now, because essentially MJF wants to work with Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle. There will be a town hall meeting next week, Chris.
Oh, cool.
my God.
Yes,
Like, go with
after the
debate.
music. Yes, there will be a town hall meeting to determine if MJF is going to be allowed into the Inner Circle.
All right,
So.
Damien, your thoughts?
I hated it. I'm not a fan of this kind of schmaz. I guess it's because I'm more akin to the NXT in-ring portion. I don't really like the sports entertainment stuff. I know a lot of people are loving the campiness of it all, but I guarantee you if WWE did this, we would be lambasting them left and right. The vast majority of the IWC. I'm not going to obviously speak for Mike or Chris, but I know the people I work with, because right now we're talking about that with Big Gold Belt. And we're thinking, because it's Jericho, we're willing to give it a pass. But if Vince McMahon did this with somebody else, we would be just ripping them to shreds. And I know it's going to lead eventually to a feud between these two, and that's fine. I don't really see either one of them turning face. Maybe Jericho, because he can kind of go between the two very easily. I want people to remember a couple of months ago, MJF was feuding for the AEW Heavyweight Championship with Jon Moxley and bled in the match, and it was brutal. And I'm not an MJF fan. I never have been. But to see him fall, and yes, it's still a main event program, but if this is your main event program on your flagship show, I'm sorry. You guys are losing me here. And I'm not going to say that NXT's been exponentially better, because I think Tiger Lily asked me last night, why do I like NXT? And I said, well, to be quite honest, I actually like the women's wrestling in NXT more than anything else. But overall, it fell flat for me. Just like do you remember the debate with Eric Bischoff and Jericho and Orange Cassidy?
Yes.
I didn't like it.
Very
I didn't
similar.
like that either. And it's very similar. It's very campy. I don't know if two heels like this can pull this off effectively, but to Mike's point, they're both heels. They're supposed to annoy me. So in that realm, I guess they did their job. But does it interest me in their program? Not at all. Not at all.
I can only like. You're the more like steady connoisseur of this than I am. I guess I can only give you the anecdotal data that it caught my attention, and I was kind of chuckling. And if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have caught the match between the two masked wrestlers. It was excellent.
Yes, Penta and Rey Fenix.
Yes.
Match of the night,
Which
for
was
sure.
excellent. So it for the casual observer, I know you might not care. It's easy to dismiss the casual observer, but for me, I had to do other things. I literally had to. It did catch my attention, and I would have missed that excellent match between the. Sorry, who are the two again?
Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr.
Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr., which shout out was the match of the night. It was incredible. It had some campy moments like the slap contest, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
And
and of
I don't know
course
if
they
you
are
caught-
a tag team.
Yeah, they are a tag team. So Mike and Chris, I don't know if you
I've
caught
seen
that
them-
sick
I've seen them
power
play
bomb.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That pop-up power bomb flip was amazing. I didn't know what to say to that. Just it was amazing.
Yes. Yeah, and
course
the flip finisher off the top rope where I couldn't even tell who got hit with it because there were so many flips involved. Yeah. Really,
And I'm sure Jim Cornette hates that too.
Oh yeah, no, I could understand. Like it doesn't seem like. The only thing is like the stuff in the '80s that you would be looking back towards. That stuff looks fake too.
Yes.
Like I'm pretty sure Ronda Rousey would go tear someone's arm off in the time that they were doing that, like off. Goodness gracious, I'm not letting Ronda Rousey in the ring with Kevin Von Erich. I'm sorry.
Well, no, here's the funny thing, Chris. If you ever go back and watch Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss when she was wrestling in WWE, it looks as if Alexa's arm is being torn off in their match. She is literally ragdolling her to the point where people thought it was a shoot fight after a while because Alexa is double jointed. So she can pop her arms out and look dilapidated like she's dislocating her elbow. And it looks gnarly as hell to see Ronda just toss her around. But then again, Ronda left WWE and then went on a social media crusade and saying, fake fighting, I'm done with it, blah, blah, blah. So to your point, Chris, yes, I think MMA really did bust the trash can of WWF and WCW, the old slow-paced, NWO styles of wrestling. Now we have more of this athleticism. They need to be athletes first, then become characters. Because you don't see a lot of that. And actually leads into another segue I want to talk about. I didn't put in the notes, but so last night, Chris, on NXT on the other show, there was a tag team match with Breezango, which is, the normal cosplaying tag team champions. 1 week they're Top Gun, the next minute they're Fashion Cops, so they were wrestling two really renowned grapplers. They're called the 1-2, which is Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan. Really corny names, but these two are legit fighters and wrestlers and grapplers. And in a weird twist, which I didn't realize until this morning when I saw it back, you remember Pat McAfee, Chris, from earlier
Punter.
A couple months ago?
Punter,
Yes,
bad wrestler.
he is their mysterious manager because he was attacking the Undisputed Era backstage and cost them the match to get in the match, which allowed Lorcan and Burch to be in the match. And then he was unmasked to be the actual manager of this team. So when we talk about a couple months ago, a punter being in wrestling, he's now going to be a manager of this tag team.
Hey,
which
anybody
is
gets a shot.
weird.
It's weird, but whatever. I give it a shot. Whatever. It's so weird.
Well, don't dismiss it right away. Pat
I didn't.
McAfee is an excellent talker. Okay.
Yes,
And
I think it's
That's why
good.
That's why I'm
Yeah,
saying
it's-
I give it a shot. I didn't dismiss it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Yes, he's a punter, but he's also a good athlete, and he, for the most part, when he wrestled Adam Cole, baby,
Hold up his own.
he held his own. He was training. He trained obviously, and I mean, for the most part, for someone who is not a trained professional wrestler all the way, he did phenomenal performance. Was one of the best ones out there today in Adam Cole. And it looks like they're still going to continue that feud, him versus the Undisputed Era, obviously, with him taking them out of their title match and then, now being their manager. So that's still going to continue. And you know what? Whichever two it is out of the Undisputed Era that goes against Lorcan and Burch, oh my God, I'm tuning in for that. I'm ready because, as Damien just said, most of the Undisputed Era, they're grapplers for the most part. So I mean, that's going to be a wrestling match that you don't want to miss, right there. That is going to be what you would like, Chris. This is going to be a wrestling match. There's not going to be a 10-minute, headlock or anything like that. No, there's going to be a headlock into a drop down toe hold into a a roll up pin, kick out, and then into the ropes and something else, and it just goes on from there. That right there is what it basically is, to me, the foundation of good wrestling today, where you have a lot of grapplers who can do a lot of chain wrestling and make it look quote unquote real and be entertaining and tell the quote unquote story of the match. It's gonna be great.
Right.
It's gonna be great.
Looking forward to it because these four, well, depending on which two, like you said, Mike, from Undisputed Era, they tore the house down. I think it was TakeOver Chicago a couple of years back, and they were the opener, and they went 15 minutes. They beat the living hell out of each other, and it was an effective wrestling match. So Chris, if you happen to catch the Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor match from a couple of weeks ago, it's going to be similar to that.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah, someone's going to get hurt. Hopefully not to the extent that Balor and O'Reilly did, where Balor had to get surgery on his jaw from taking a knee right to the face, right? But, it'll be close to that. You know what I mean? So, and, one of the things I was wondering last night, because as you all saw, like one of my best friends, Sal, who I watch many wrestling events with, who we've traveled the roads together, brother, making towns, brother. That's me and him, right?
Mhm.
And I was wondering, like, what are we gonna put on the main screen? Will it be AEW or NXT? And
I just followed your
we're
lead.
like-
I saw what you put on your laptop and put the other one up.
yeah, and then that was cool. But I mean, like, as far as like the bells and whistles of it, okay, AEW has more bells and whistles to catch your attention,
Mhm.
thus, making it, good to be on the big screen. Whereas NXT right now, right? I mean, if you want to watch just good, solid wrestling, crisp wrestling, good quality product, that's NXT for you, and their storylines are just as good, but they don't have like NXT won't do, a musical. You know what I mean? That's not their thing,
But
I mean,
if I had
they're
watched
not.
if I had watched the match that I watched last night, I wouldn't have gotten to see the flippy thingy because they would have cut away from it. Whatever the name of that finisher was between the two tag team partners who were fighting each other in AEW. Like, that's been my takeaway from NXT is like I haven't seen anything other than like really cool like wrestlers and the promos and like all the bells and whistles and the athleticism. It's all there with NXT. It's all there, and the women are arguably better than the men, and it's freaking awesome. Except I don't see half of it, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And every time I forget, and I will forget, and be like, I'm gonna try NXT again, and I look and I get frustrated all over again.
Well, next week will be your chance because next week you're gonna want to have NXT on the main screen because that is Halloween Havoc.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned last night, I won't be there next week to watch it, but you definitely want to watch Halloween Havoc because that's going to be, their big show for this month, if you will, and it's going to be on
Sounds
Wednesday, and again you're going to see the spin the wheel, make the deal.
Mm-hmm.
You're
I
gonna
saw
see
a
that.
little bit of it,
Yeah.
that at the on your laptop.
Yeah. So yeah, spin the wheel, make the deal. It'll be there next week, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be fun. I mean, that, like, again, that they haven't done this since WCW first did it back in like '91 or whenever it was. I mean, '92. It may have been '91. But yeah, Halloween Havoc, which of course WWE owns WCW trademarks such as Halloween Havoc, so that's why you're seeing it now. So, yeah, I'm next Wednesday should be really good. So definitely check out NXT next week, and you're gonna see some solid, good wrestling. And again, they have a small crowd in their arena right now, along with other wrestlers cheering on, along with the video wall, people watching. So it should be a very good, solid show next week. Excuse me.
Sounds good.
So, Mike, how much longer do we have you for? Because there's a few more things I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Okay. So, do you have any other observations from last night's happenings, Mike?
Let's see here. I did like how NXT obviously was setting up, Halloween Havoc for next week, things like that. I mean, obviously like me and Sal, I don't know, no one was around us when Pat McAfee revealed himself, but we both lost it, and we both did and nobody was around us. You know what I mean? And like, you probably would have heard us over at Death Ball or something, but I mean, we were. I mean, that's how that right there is how we watch wrestling together. Like, we just take it for face value, and we get into it, and we react accordingly. Like, that's us.
I like having Sal there.
Yeah. and I mean, outside of that, I mean, really, as far as both shows go, I mean, obviously the musical stands out because that's all over my timeline today. you know, uh, Phoenix Pentagon tore the house down. And I mean, as far as the rest of AEW, I mean, it really, that's about it. NXT, I mean, from start to finish, everything was good there. The opening match with Ciampa, Dream, and Kushida.
Kushida. Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good match right there. A nice three-way match, and I'm not quite too sure what they're setting up with those three because there's really nothing on the line yet as far as like a belt or anything like that. But I'm interested to see on where they take that story because uh, you know, that there's probably going to be some big payoff there with that feud going right now, and I'm interested in see where that goes. Gosh, I mean, NXT it seems like to me is making a good push to replenish what they may have lost earlier this year as far as like momentum, things like that.
Mhm.
Even with Finn Balor currently on the shelf for a couple more weeks while his jaw heals as NXT champion and stuff like that.
Let's not forget, Karrion Kross actually looks to be close to returning in a couple of months. So their top level males in the division is going to be picking up shortly with the return of Balor and Karrion Kross.
Yeah, and I pretty much see them two facing off for
I can't
the
wait.
NXT. And that right there, that again, Chris.
Is Karrion Kross the
Solid,
one that
good.
bursts contracts into flames with his mind?
Yes.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, that dude. I mean, as far as wrestling goes, I mean, that guy is a solid wrestler. Obviously, Finn Balor is, and I mean, again, that's going to be another like, all right, I'm tuning in. Like, they can just wrestle by themselves for an hour. That could be the whole show, and I'd be happy. That's another one of those. I feel like I don't need nothing else. Nothing else. I'll just watch them. We're good. And that's going to be them too. When I'm pretty sure that's going to be the thing when he gets back. So I guess it all works out. Their respective injuries worked out.
For anyone listening, if you still think that wrestling doesn't hurt just because the spots are predetermined and the results are predetermined, go look up gruesome wrestling injuries and then get back to me, because not only did Finn have to get jaw surgery, but Kyle O'Reilly, I think he had a partially ruptured spleen or something like that after his match with Finn Balor at TakeOver.
Yeah, he took
wrestling hurts.
Wrestling does hurt. He took a very stiff kick. Now that's the thing. Like Chris, you touched on this. Going back to your 10-minute headlock or something like that. Again, you don't have that today, right? You don't have a 10-minute headlock
You don't have
today.
the rest period.
Well, I mean, you might have like a reverse chin lock for maybe a minute or two, here and there, which is fine, right? But I mean, again, like with a lot of the wrestlers today and in all the shows, no matter who it is, whatever, like they are essentially striking each other more now than they did back then. Like you'll see like a legit, punch here and there. You'll definitely see a legit kick, things like that. Like you'll see a lot of, as they say, stiff shots with a lot of people today. And
some of those slaps yesterday look pretty stiff.
I mean they are. They straight up are.
Saw the perspiration bouncing off of people.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have the, you don't have the days of the Hulk Hogan 3 punches and then the boot. With his open fist or whatever the case may be. Like no, they're for the most part they will land some stiff shots in there, and again.
They'll always have my respect. Like they really will. It is predetermined. Yes, it is predetermined. But in actuality, both competitors will lose the match. That's what's predetermined. They both will take the bumps having lost the match. That's why injuries are so damn prevalent. They're going through car crashes every week for our enjoyment. That's insane. But if I'm watching, I'm sure as hell going to be appreciating that what they do. At least the physicality of it is real, and I know that it's predetermined. That's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna go have some fun. So is the ending of the next Avengers movie. That's also predetermined. I'm gonna have fun with the explosions there too. So thank you.
That
to
is a
all
great
those guys.
comparison, Chris. Thank
They
you
are.
for saying that.
They're superheroes, villains, bros, whatever you want them to be. Like, you know, them as individuals and controversies and dark side of the ring, type stuff. That's its own subject, but like for the entertainment value, I know why it's entertaining, and I appreciate them for doing it.
Now, speaking of informative and entertaining, earlier in the week I sent out a link to the documentary that I have on DVD about the Von Erichs, not the one that WWE put out.
I watched the
But,
first half of it. So to
Okay.
recap, the Von Erichs were the best wrestling group, and they took over the wrestling scene, and that's the end of the story. That's as far as I got.
Yeah. They took everything over, and here in Texas, Damien, of course, this is, if anything, this is, me and Chris obviously know the story, right? But this is definitely more for you to understand how big these guys were back then, and how big World Class Championship Wrestling was back then in the '80s, especially here. One of the things that they touch on the documentary is that their main show would air Saturday nights from like 10 to midnight. Okay.
Mhm.
And they would beat. Now this is the '80s, right? So what's popular usually on network television on Saturday nights?
The Iron
Saturday
Man.
Night
Saturday
Live.
Night Live. Mhm.
Saturday Night Live. Locally, World Class Championship Wrestling would beat Saturday Night Live in the ratings.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's
this
true,
is,
by the way.
that is true, and they talk about it in the documentary. And of course, this is the '80s Saturday Night Live, which was really, really good. You know what I mean? They had all the, big stars from, that came out of it later on, right? So they were beating Saturday Night Live in the ratings here locally. Their show would get pirated to places like, who was it? Was it Israel? I think. Yeah, I think it was Israel. Their show would get pirated to Israel. That's how popular it was, to where, like, all right, well, if we're being shown over there pirated, let's just go there and tour. And they did. You know what I mean? Like, they
Wow.
capitalized on it. But there's so much in it. And again, it's a long one. Like, it's a good solid 2.5 hours, but it's definitely worth it. And once they get into the tragedies that started happening, right? You're familiar with, the Von Erich's deaths and all those things, but even some other people too. They even touch on the Geno thing, which Dark Side of the Ring expanded on, but they touch on it there. And the Bruiser Brody, which Dark Side of the Ring did as well. They touch on those. Of course, this was made like in the early 2000s, right? All these things, and you just, for like a good 3 to 4 year run, man, like these guys were just on top of the world here. And one of the things
Might
that,
have been longer than that too.
well, yeah, it's probably longer than that. But as far as like the real meat of it, right? Before David passed and everything else.
Mhm.
One of the things that they do talk about it in this, Damien, is that they were getting so popular that their show was being broadcast damn near across the country, all over the country, including New
satellite.
York. Yeah, satellite, including New York, and places like that. Of course, who's in New York. They were wanting to do. They wanted to take the show on the road. They wanted to travel, into other territories, right? And of course, back then you didn't do it until Vince did it. Well,
Right.
But before Vince did it, Fritz, the owner of World Class at the time, he could have done it, but he was so, old school. Like, no, that's my territory's here. This is my area. I'm not going into another person's territory to run, because back then you really didn't do it unless you got special permission or something like that, right? Or you exchange talent or something. They could have easily done it first and could have been one of the biggest things out there. But Vince, obviously did it next, and here we are today. But they were poised and ready to do it first, and unfortunately they didn't. But they had the star power to do it. I mean, everybody loved the good old, homegrown Texas-born Von Erich boys. Everybody did. One of the other things I noticed about the video, going back and watching it, is you would hear how loud they would get cheered, or like when certain things would happen. Like as you watch it, you're gonna hear how loud that arena was, and it's just screaming, and they even had basic chants for the Von Erichs back then. It's really, really good, Damien. When you can, definitely try to get it a good watch here soon. Again, it's a long one, but
Right. It's about 2.5 hours, correct?
yeah, it's about 2.5 hours. So give it a good watch. You'll definitely enjoy it.
So off the top of my head, also, this is non-wrestling related. I don't know if you guys covered this in the news, so correct me if I missed it. Did you see that Des Bryant got signed to Baltimore's practice squad?
Yes, I did.
Weird.
Yes, that is true,
Practice
Chris.
squad?
Yes, he is on the Baltimore Ravens practice squad now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's back. Sort of.
Throw up the
Sort
X.
of.
Yeah, so
I mean, practice squad players, they make about $80,000 a year. So good money if you can get it.
Guess.
I think I saw something. Well, I didn't. I saw some figure, but I don't know if it was like incentives that would equal up to this amount or something like that. But 600,000 maybe. So
Be on the practice squad.
well,
I'm
I mean-
sure the incentive would be making it to the team.
yeah, making it to the team.
We are
which
in the
is-
wrong business, people.
Which of course that's the end goal for Dez. He wants to make it to the main squad so he can actually be in it, and that's probably a good place to start him off because he hadn't played in like 3 years or so, right? So I mean, yeah, start on the practice squad, get your feet wet again, and then we'll work your way up. So there you go, Dez Bryant.
Yeah,
Back in
Des
the
Bryant's
NFL.
back. Didn't want to ruin the wrestling portion, but it just caught my attention. I said, "Wait, what?"
Oh yeah,
That's interesting. But overall, back to wrestling really quick. Mike, I'm going to give it a whirl this week. I'm going to try to watch the documentary. I know Chris has watched half of it. Maybe I can rope Sarah into watching it as well, and then she can contribute her 2 cents to it, because I still don't get why the Von Erichs are such a big deal, because I wasn't raised here.
Mhm.
But it's sort of like
That's
how
cool.
New Yorkers viewed Bruno Sammartino.
yes,
Could do
absolutely.
no wrong in
Same
New
thing.
York. So I get the comparison. I understand. the
Same
comparison.
Same thing. And after watching this, you'll definitely understand why. Definitely
So-
understand why.
So
Exact same thing.
as a kid, during that time period, I was living in here. Actually, never here. I always wanted to live here. I was born in Temple, Texas. I spent some time living in Shreveport, Louisiana, also Denton, Texas, bouncing around. The Cowboys games, the Cowboys were atrocious during this period. The games were getting blacked out in the DFW area, so I couldn't watch the Cowboys. But I could watch the wrestling, and everywhere I could watch the wrestling. It was on the Christian Broadcasting Network. So all my really religious East Texas relatives, when I go visit my great grandmother, she would just have it locked into the Christian network, where they're showing the wrestling matches in the Sportatorium. So everywhere I went, there was wrestling, and this was the sports hierarchy in the region. I'm talking the entire North Texas, North Louisiana region. It was number 1 by a lot, the Cowboys. Number 2, wrestling, specifically the Von Erichs, this region wrestling, and then I don't even remember the other teams if they existed. That's how far down it was, including the Rangers. No one cared.
He's absolutely right. That the Rangers were, in theory at the time, the number 2 team in the area as far as popularity goes, but they weren't
They
that
weren't
good at
even
the time.
close.
Yeah, they weren't even close. And the Mavericks had only been here. The Mavericks started in 1980.
We'd be in the schoolyard talking about the Von Erichs and the Cowboys, and maybe Michael Jordan or something like that. But like I'm talking schoolyard kids. We'd be like, "Did you know we had a baseball team too?" Like, yeah, they're called Texas Rangers. Why aren't they called Dallas? I don't know. Well, who cares? It's baseball. And we go back to talking about the Von Erichs and try and hit each other with leg drops and stuff.
Yeah, and we didn't even have an NHL team yet, so that wasn't even on the radar at all around here during that time. So that was it. You had football and baseball, and then you just had a brand new NBA team, which in theory the World Class show started before the Mavericks did. So speaking of the Mavericks, I mean that they were playing at the former Reunion Arena, which now no longer exists, but World Class would hold their big events inside Reunion Arena and sell it out.
Right. It would be bigger for wrestling.
Called Star Wars. Ironically enough, it was called Star Wars at the time. And then they would also hold events at the Cotton Bowl and Texas Stadium and sell those out. So you'll see all that in the documentary on how big it was, and then just the slow decline into to where it went to disappear forever, including the actual building.
Vince beat him.
Huh?
Vince beat him.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, Vince ended up beating everybody, right? But they couldn't sustain it. Part of the end for them. I got a couple more minutes left. Part of the end for for World Class was basically them trying to do joint shows with the AWA, like the Superclass shows. I don't know if you remember those, Damien, with the AWA and Vern Gagne's thing. They would try to do those supercard shows basically, and they weren't. They just would flop for whatever reason, So that didn't help. And then of course, a lot of the main stars would, they passed away. So it was hard. And then finally, it was sold to Jeff Jarrett's dad, Jerry Jarrett.
Jerry Jarrett. Mm-hmm.
And that's where you had USWA begin. So
I see.
Yeah, and I remember that angle starting where it was basically USWA versus World Class. Like it was literally, like it was probably the first invasion angle that actually took place, And the whole angle was basically the transition from World Class into USWA here in Dallas as well as Memphis. Or wait, what was US? Where was USW? Was it Memphis? Right. Anyway,
I thought that was USWA.
Yeah. So so basically he had both towns. He had Memphis and Dallas at that point, and then and then it just that faded away as well. But yeah, it was, man, it's so good, man. It's just deep history, and of course, as I said, the building no longer exists, the actual Sportatorium building, and probably the coolest thing about the whole documentary is Kevin Von Erich. He goes into the Sportatorium one last time as they're tearing it down because to take a look around stuff. I mean, the city deemed it as a hazard, right? I mean, homeless took it over, and it caught on fire and all this stuff, and the city said, "Yeah, we're just gonna tear this down," and they did. So then nothing has been built on that land since where it used to sit. It's still a vacant lot. So, and it was right near
Where
downtown.
in Dallas was it located? Oh, downtown. Okay.
Yeah, downtown. Yeah, it's downtown, Industrial and Cadiz Street. So it's just if you go by there today, it's just a still empty field.
Is that where they had the? I don't remember what they called it. The homeless village that they bulldozed about 4 years ago.
No. That wasn't there. No, the homeless village was like like kind of where Deep Ellum and downtown kind of meet underneath that one highway bridge.
I get lost
That's
pretty
kinda
quickly in downtown Dallas.
That's like where that was at. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was really really good. So, give it a shot. Anyway,
Will do. I mean, you've kind of both drummed it up really interestingly on the heritage of the Von Erichs, and I like to learn more. Just because a lot of my friends, you guys included, tell me about the Von Erichs all the time. So the least I can do is brush up on my knowledge and not be a complete noob about the Von Erichs history.
awesome, good stuff, good stuff. Well, that'll do it for me. I'm gonna have to get back to the work here.
Okay. I do have some things I want to talk with Chris about because he had some strong opinions, Mike, and you know what I'm going to talk about because I put it up in the group chat. But feel free, sir, if you have free time later, pop in.
I'm gonna get ambushed. I didn't look. Go for it. Have a good day at work, Mike.
All right, we'll see ya.
Later, Mike. So, Chris,
Okay.
remember how a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this event called The Collective.
Hmm.
And it was an independent show running in Indiana the day they recorded the record high in COVID spikes.
Yes.
Record high the day of the event. It was a weekend long wrestling event with multiple shows going on.
Hmm.
So what wound up happening was
And some of the, if I recall your story from last week, some of the wrestlers there did not report their positive tests. Is that right?
exactly
Yeah.
they did not report their positive test, or they were falsifying documents saying that they were negative, only to turn up positive.
Hmm.
Well, now it's gotten a little bit more serious now because AEW has been affected by this. And the fact that Joey Janela was supposed to be in the title tournament because he ran Janela's spring break and was a part of the Collective.
Hmm.
He was exposed to multiple people who contracted COVID-19. So now it's affecting AEW. So the worry I have now, Chris, is that even though in their contracts, AEW allows their talent to work non-televised events,
Hmm.
now I worry that they're going to put the kibosh on that now, considering that they're taking a bigger risk and Florida's Florida. Florida, no matter which way you slice the banana, now they may impede their talent to work independent shows because there's been an even bigger outbreak now in the Midwest. And a lot of these wrestlers travel out to the Midwest. They bring these wrestlers in for AEW Dark, which is their YouTube only show that debuts on Tuesday nights. So not only did they pull Janela, but one of the best unsigned talents, AJ Gray. If people haven't heard of him, he normally works in the South and the Midwest, mostly in Tennessee, as well as in St. Louis. But he also tested positive for COVID, and he is one of the best unsigned talents in all of professional wrestling. Here's my concern, and I know you can commiserate with this a little bit, Chris. Where I understand you need to make a living.
Mm.
I understand this is all you know for some of the wrestlers. Is it really worth it to not only work a show where people, not even the fans, the talent, you don't know where the talent's been quarantining. You don't know who the talent's been carousing with. And then at the end of the show, there's still bars open. I highly doubt every bar in the Midwest is doing what Free Play does and enforces rules for mask mandates.
Right.
So at what point, as a human, am I thinking, oh, this is stupid. This is completely stupid. But I want your feedback, knowing that in Florida, we've had record spikes because of WWE and AEW wrestlers. And because Florida is 95% open now,
Mm-hmm.
now we have these independence events happening indoors, not even outdoors, indoors,
Mm-hmm.
with not very, with mask limitations that aren't strictly enforced
Right.
because I had seen talents not wearing masks in the stands.
Mhm.
But where do you stand as a fan, as a human, in regard to these people basically just saying, "Look, this is all I know, and I'm going to do it."
I'm glad I'm not in the government right now, because those are hard decisions that need to be made, and if they're not being made, and this is the logical result of those hard decisions not being made. Yeah, it's you leave it up to humanity to sort of in a crisis like this, sort of make their own rules or deal with it in their own ways. And what they're going to do is deal with it in every way that they potentially could. Every outcome will play itself out throughout the entirety of this. But unfortunately, a pandemic, a worldwide virus, is a bigger event that we can't excuse ourselves from. That's literally the definition of a pandemic.
Right.
You know, I am Texas first and America second, and both of those means I am defiantly about my freedom, and I want it. It's just a virus doesn't care. A pandemic doesn't care. We've faced this before as a race of humanity several times, and you know, we all gotta lock down. You know, if the virus were the 1940s era Japanese bombers bombing Hawaii, we would all like coalesce, get together, know we're going to fight our enemy, and take down a lot of hardship, and grit our teeth and show the world what we could do. We don't have this physical face for a villain, so we're all over the place. We're not able to coalesce the way we need to knock this out, or to deal with it in a way in which we won't have a ton of collateral damage, which we are having a ton of collateral damage. So it's just, you asked me my opinion on it. It's just what I anticipate when you don't take the measures that you need to deal with a pandemic. I wish it wasn't the case. You know, like I said, I bleed red, white, and blue, and you can fight over whether that's the Texas flag or the United States flag. Either way, I feel both of them right down to my core. I ain't leaving. We're not handling this smartly, and to expect, if we're not going to handle this smartly from a governmental level, from an overall level, to expect every single individual to handle it smartly is just not sustainable. It's not going to happen. We can control, free play can control as much as we can people as they walk into the doors of free play, but we don't have anything outside of that. So
Right.
I'm sure that you've had many friends who've had COVID-19. I've had many friends who've had COVID-19. I am hearing reports of deaths. You know, I had someone call me. The reason my 10 a.m. walk was a little late was because someone called me at midnight about a friend dying. And I'm just numb. I forgot the name of a friend of mine who had died like 10 days before. And I felt mortified. It's just been going around so very much. So it's serious out there. It's real. I can't.
I understand.
I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, there's nothing I can do
No, there
other
isn't.
than what I can physically do. Like, this is sort of a failure on a lot of levels, and the individuals that don't fail, sometimes they're getting punished anyway. Actually, many times they are getting punished anyway. I lost my job in March, and then I got it back, and now I'm employed again. You know, knock on wood, for now. So we're all getting punished,
And I get it.
and some people are dying.
I understand these wrestlers needs to want to work. I mean, shoot, I've been working what seems to be 14 jobs in order to make my ends meet for the last couple of months. But at what point does your life not matter? Because if we want to be real here, a lot of people are inherently selfish. It's like, well, I don't care. I'm going to do this anyway. Cool. I'm going to defend your right to do so because you're making a choice. You're an autonomous human being. But you're infecting your fellow wrestlers. One. Number two, you don't care you're doing it because you're doing it for the payday. And then three, there are also fans who want to meet you who you yourself are trying to make money off of to sell shirts if you're on the independent scene, merchandise. Yet, a lot of these promotions don't have the proper safety protocols. You know, they don't have the WWE budget to do this. They don't have the AEW budget to do this. It just makes me really frustrated. One, as a fan, and two, for people, for people who don't know, I am involved with a few wrestling promotions back in the Northeast, and they're not running. They refuse to run. They understand the risks, and they're not going to put their talent and themselves in danger, which I can respect.
I can't.
But at the same token, I understand you got to do what you got to do. But wrestling companies, come on, wrestlers and wrestling companies, you got to be a little bit smarter than that.
Yeah.
I know times are hard. I know we all got to make money, but putting yourself at risk for the dollar bill, y'all, just doesn't sit right for me.
Yeah, and it has to be, the higher up the better. So yeah, it has to be on the company, because if you want to blame the individual wrestler, like there's hundreds of them involved in a show, and again, you're putting it up to them. This is why we have doctors on the side of football fields to say, hey, you can't go back in. You're injured. Like, I'm sorry. Sit down. You have a concussion. It's got to be from higher up.
Hippocratic oath.
Yeah, it's got to be from higher up. It just has to be, or this is the inevitable conclusion. It sucks.
Unfortunately,
and like there's
yeah,
no high ground. I don't blame the AEW for pulling their talent, and they probably should for the rest of the pandemic. However, the AEW and WWE certainly don't get off from this as well. They're they're cavalierly spreading the virus around. They're doing more steps because they can afford to, but it ain't like they've shut down either. So,
and that's part of the problem, is that you got to make money. That's what we're going to do, and I understand, but
I do.
I guess the human in me is saying, do you have to?
My personal thoughts are, you can make your decisions. Sometimes you have to make your decisions. And in fact, I'm sure, I know all around we're having to make these decisions where you don't really truly have a choice, because the people above us and like the people who could like say, hey, forgiveness of bills, or particularly like leases. I rent a house here. Like there are no allowances for us, or there were for individuals briefly. I believe they're evicting again. These are very real problems, and you gotta face it. You don't really have a choice. You gotta get out there.
Get it.
So I get that, but man, the point where I'm exposing myself, and I knock on wood every time I say I haven't caught it. I do. It's a pandemic. I have no immunity to it. I'm wearing my mask. I'm doing everything I can. But the point where I'm a vector, that's the point where I have a moral problem with it. A major moral problem with it. If I were to develop a cough and start feeling my head, and I think I have a fever, and then if I went back to free play, I mean, if anybody figured out, I'd be fired, and I should be. That's the point, and that's what the guys at this wrestling event did, and everything that comes from that, I totally understand, and I hope when we're done with the pandemic that these wrestlers get an avenue. When I say these wrestlers, I mean like the AEW wrestlers that are going to get banned from events like this in the future, or are. I hope they get an avenue to make their money anyway, because they're trying to get by like all of us. So I hope there's a green pasture on the other side.
So before we get out of here, Chris, I actually I have one more thing. I just sent it in the group in the stream here.
Mhm.
Speaking of AEW, there was a match last night which had, I believe, a fatal four-way of tag teams, with the winner receiving a tag team title shot. And during the match, one of the teams, the Dark Order, apparently one of their wrestlers was knocked out cold during the match. And he continued to have moves put on him while he was knocked out cold.
I saw this. I saw the whole
And-
sequence, and I just didn't realize he was knocked out.
Yes, apparently he was KO'd. Alex Reynolds, he was already knocked out by the time this move happened.
That one?
For that, and they're still wrestling right there.
Mm-hmm.
He landed wrong. That's why he grabbed his head and he just fell down flat.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a concussion right now. That's what he said today. That's when he called the concussion. Then this happened. And then what wound up happening was, after this scrum here, you watch one of the tag teams pull him to the corner.
Yeah.
His body looks lifeless.
Yes.
So they pull him to the corner.
Uh-huh.
He's unconscious, Chris.
Uh-huh.
They force a tag, continue the match. They're wrestling over him, Chris, as if he's a dead body. He's
That's
still in the ring.
that's crazy.
Referee
think-
hasn't stopped.
Does the referee doesn't I think the referee's not aware?
Oh,
What's your take on this?
normally when there's a situation like this, a referee will go and check the hand and squeeze the hand to say, "Are you okay?" He has yet to go over
Yeah,
there.
so this is all on the referee in my opinion.
Yes.
I see the
What bugs me?
wrestler's been moved here at this point. I don't see how,
Yes. I think someone just pulled him off camera. And what wound up happening was, what bothered me about this is that no doctors came down ringside. Check on him. Oh, my point of contention, and you're right, they've moved him at this point, but he's still unconscious or at least hurt. Yeah. It continued the match even though he was knocked out and concussed.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like that's on the ref. Like, is that the ref's responsibility to go pull up his hand? Because I want to say Chris Jericho was involved in a match where he was supposed to win, or they were right in the middle of the match.
Yes.
I forget the specifics of it. Maybe you recall this more than me.
He dislocated the person dislocated their ankle.
He protected them
And Chris
very quickly.
Jericho sees it and gets himself disqualified. End the match.
Yeah.
Because the referee didn't catch it.
I think he shoves the ref or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was one of the like best, most humanitarian acts by what I believe was a heel, in the ring, ever. Like that's how you should handle it. It's got to be on the ref. Like you got to be aware if you're in charge of this madness. I know there's a lot going around. I can see how he made the mistake because I saw the video just then, and despite being concussed, like he's still kind of moving around as if, and this is what wrestlers do, right? They sort of like feign this injury. Like he's not knocked cold. He's just sort of like disoriented. He's concussed.
Loopy.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's on the referee because what usually happens for those who don't know, after a high risk spot, the ref will slide over, say, "Are you okay?" verbally, but a wrestler will squeeze their hand to let them know that they're okay. And to your point, not once did the referee slide over to Reynolds to say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Because they had to keep the breakneck speed of the match going. At the same token, I've seen high octane matches take a beat to check on the talent, especially with that many teams involved. I don't know. That does not sit well with me. And then again, for those who think
the
wrestling
ref-
doesn't hurt,
Yeah. Like the ref should be suspended or something like that, if not, canned. But I'll believe in forgiveness and say the ref should be suspended.
at the very least, right?
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. I think again, AEW still in infancy they're still in their infancy for their company. It's been over a year, a little over a year. I'll cut them a little slack, but
Well, and also like
no.
it's a what was it, an 8-man tag? Like there's a lot of mayhem happening there.
Yes.
But so it's a very hard job. Being a referee is always a hard job, a hard and unappreciated job. I bet it's at least 8 times harder when you have an 8-man tag team match happening and there's high flying everywhere. So I have some room for you made a mistake. That's why I say the dude should be suspended, unless he has a history of this, in which case they need to get him the heck out of there. But this is unacceptable.
But that's for me. That's kind of what stood out more after Wrestling Wednesday when I kind of digested everything. But you're right. Suspend them. Have better protocols. AEW, if they're going to start pulling their talent, I think maybe a 2-week moratorium of having them work independent shows should be in order. If I'm running an effective business, I know they're independent contractors, but they do have certain legalities they can. For the wrestler's own good, sometimes needs to kind of just be held back from continuing to do more harm than good, more so than in the wrestling ring.
That's tough. This
But
happens
aside
in
from
other
that,
sports
Chris-
too. Basketball
Yes.
players in international basketball, competing for your team, your national team, potentially exposing yourself to a season or career-ending injury. Yeah. So definitely a controversial topic. So sorry, you were closing us out, Damien?
Yes, I was. That'll do it for me, Chris. Unless you have any other tidbits
Yeah.
you have.
I just thank you to Mike B and Tiger Lily for joining us. I'm Chris Delp. I am the community liaison for Free Play Arcade. You probably know that if you're here. You can go to freeplayinc.com/savethearcade for merchandise and all kinds of ways to help us on the road. You can also come to Free Play, which is open in 1 hour. All the Free Plays: Free Play Fort Worth, Free Play Arlington, Free Play Richardson. I will be at Free Play Richardson tonight because I'm garbage at Super Turbo and I want to be just a little bit better. But I want to throw it to Damien to close us out and to plug everything you do out there, Damien, because I really appreciate it.
Sure. You can find me, everybody, at Damien G Show on all your social media platforms. You can also find the show I do with Free Play's own Sarah, which is called The Damien's Advocate, which is a dating and personal relationships podcast, which we record 3 days a week. You can find that show on social media at Damien's Advocate on Instagram. And we live stream on Twitch, YouTube, as well as on Facebook Live, about 3 episodes per week, where we talk about, as I said, dating and relationships. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from the Free Play community, actually, people who have been on the show. A friend of Free Play, Game Tracks, has been on the show before, talking about dating in this new realm of COVID and swipe right culture and in nerd culture in general. So you can catch us there. And other than that, please support Free Play the best you can. You can also catch me maybe tonight. I might have some clients that I have to do on Big Gold Bell podcast, which will be streaming on my Twitch feed if I'm on or not, at Damien G Show. And you can find us at bgbgroup.com, as well as BGB Group on Twitter and Instagram. And that's about it for me. Thank you, Chris.
Well, this guy, Hitch, was in our audience a few days ago, yesterday actually, when we were talking about the controversial Star Wars versus Fast and the Furious debate. So even though he's only doing, he's not doing a retro game, he's doing F1 2018. Let's raid Hitch. See you guys out at the arcade. Thanks, Damien, for joining.
Of course, Chris.